So what you want to do is shift the belief system so that you can then manifest what you want instead. So when we are journaling, you can do that through awareness. So really identifying, okay, what's in my life right now and how am I manifesting that? Okay.
Okay. Okay. Don't be nervous and confidence. It'll be fine. Oh no, I was talking to myself. Jess, owner of the boat, oh, hang on. I'm definitely going to cut that bit out. Let me go again.
Don't cut it out, it's great.
That bit, the first bit was intentional. This bit's not.
Okay.
Okay. Jess, owner of the Journal Club, welcome to Rad-Ventures, the podcast that takes you on an exhilarating journey through the lives of business owners and entrepreneurs. Business owner and entrepreneur. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Jess.
Thank you for having me. So, I am Jess. I'm a mother of two. I'm from the UK on the South Coast, and I'm the founder of the Journal Club, which is a community for women and some men. I do get some men message to say, like, I know that it's a women's membership, but I've seen the journal prompts you've shared and they're really helpful. But it's mainly for women to give them the tools to learn how to journal to change their lives.
Nice. I like it. It's good. I've seen your Instagram. It's really good. I like it. I like the stuff on there that you produce. And journaling's quite a big thing nowadays, isn't it? So as the world is in the place of placeness that it is, um,
Works.
people are looking to other things. Manifestation's a big thing. I mean, the
Yeah.
CIA proved that manifestation works. If you've not seen that, 2003, when the 1980s files were released, Gateway, what was it, Gateway Portal Protocol, something like that. Look
I
it
went
up.
down a rabbit hole.
Manifestation works. So we're all now like, oh yeah, if I manifest and stuff, then yeah, it's coming to us. And the best way to manifest is journaling, right?
Yeah, it's a really great tool for for manifesting.
Cool. So let's talk about Jess at school then, and we'll do because you've got quite an interesting journey, so I want to get it all in. So we'll start school quick, early. Um, what did you want to be when you were at school then? When you spoke to the careers advisor, what did you say you were going to do?
Okay, so I was obsessed with dolphins. So I really wanted to be a marine biologist. And then when I got to like secondary school, fashion designer, which is funny now
Ah,
because I just wear the same basic clothes over and over again.
okay. So I've got 2 points. One, it's easier to wear the same basic clothes, isn't it? I always wear jeans or jorts, and a black t-shirt most of the time.
Wait, what are
Um,
jean shorts?
Jorts or jean shorts, yeah.
I've never heard that before.
Haven't you?
No, I love
There you
it.
go. Rad Ventures exclusive. Second point is I want to be a marine biologist too.
Did you?
Yeah,
Love that.
I know.
Please,
And
high
in
five.
year eight, high five. Um, year eight, I realised I'm not great at biology, so I thought, well, that's that out the window.
I just love dolphins. So that's kind of, yeah, there wasn't really anything else to it.
Cool. So, fashion designer then. How far did you get with that?
Not very far. I was just creative. And so I did textiles at A level,
Hmm.
and we used to have all these little, like a person, like on a bit of paper, just an outline of a person. And I just loved sitting there and designing outfits. And I think that for me, I was speaking to a friend about this the other day. I struggle with retaining information, but something creative, I just found so much easier. I think I got an A in textiles, but I got C's in everything else. But I just loved that, just sitting there designing. But then, yeah, as soon as I left college, I didn't think about it. And left school, I didn't think about it again.
Okay. So, what did you do in college after sixth form then? Your A
So,
levels?
college, I did psychology, sociology, business, and IT. And then psychology was that's the route that I went down. I did psychology at university, which I kind of feel like in a roundabout way led me back to where I am now because I work with
Okay.
helping women with their mindset.
Nice. Okay, I've got a psychology joke for you.
Okay.
Have you heard that joke about Pavlov?
No.
Does it not ring a bell?
I like that.
It's a good one. You can have that one.
I will have that one. Thank you.
Yeah, there you go. You can use that in your psychology friends.
Love that.
Um, cool. So after uni in psychology, what did you do then?
So because I loved psychology, and there was a specific unit in it, which is going to make sense now with what we were talking about before we started this. There was a unit on reading and autism, and then I became fascinated with autism. So when I left uni, I did a little bit of traveling, and then I went and lived in Dubai. And I was teaching English as a foreign language, but I was also working with families that had children with autism, just doing one to one work with them. I'd also been working for a local charity in the UK before, with children with autism. And yeah, so I went into that, and then I fell pregnant when I was living in Dubai, which meant coming home. And then that just took me down a completely different route, and I started a blog, became a mummy blogger, did YouTube and things like that.
Okay, nice. So YouTube then, was that kind of like, were you monetized? Were you getting money from that? So that was like full-time job kind of thing.
It was full time, so it really snowballed. So I started a blog, and I was sharing. My eldest had just been born, and basically when we moved back to the UK, I just thought there's no point in me getting a job because I'm not going to get maternity leave if I'm already 3 4 months pregnant. And I didn't want to go back into the line of work that I was in because it was quite physically demanding at the charity that I was working at. There were a lot of individuals with very high needs, and it was quite physical and risk assessments and things. So my partner at the time said, "Why don't you just start a blog?" And I didn't even know what a blog was. I was just writing in this
Hmm.
little like pregnancy diary. And then yeah, then I started reviewing products, and then all of a sudden brands were messaging me and saying, "Do you want to review our products?" And I think my first ones were shoe air fresheners. And I must have spent hours taking pictures of these shoe air. They were probably worth like £3, but I was like, they were free. I got sent them. And then it just got bigger and bigger. I got a talent management team. I was getting paid like insane money to, I was getting sent like pushchairs and car seats and things like that, and holidays. We got holidays to Turks and Caicos, Lisbon, Rome, Barcelona, like all these amazing holidays, and got paid to review them. So it was just amazing, and I loved it. But I stopped because there were two elements to it. So when I then became a single mum, I felt as though I'd overshared a lot. I'd shared like the birth of my youngest child is on YouTube, and it's had
Okay.
like I think over 2 million views. So I'd overshared a lot. I shared a lot going through the process of becoming a single mum, and I also with that got a lot of trolling. There's like a
Hmm.
forum that shall not be named, but I had a whole page on the forum about me, and just a lot of criticism. And I think when you're in a really vulnerable place like that, my mental health plummeted. So I took a step back because of that, but also because I felt like there wasn't much purpose. I was
Hmm.
being paid thousands I remember this one, Jumperoo, that you put a kid in and they can kind of like bounce, and it's got all
Oh,
these
okay.
things
Yeah.
running. I remember I got paid like £4,000, and I got given it. I already had one at home to go and tell other parents to spend their hard earned money on it. And I
Hmm.
just felt like there was no there was no purpose. And I wanted to do something to help people. So yeah, that's why I kind of took a step back from the blogging and the YouTube,
Yeah.
and I went into my own self-development journey, and that's how I then got into coaching and now what I do now.
Oh, okay. So perhaps down the line, a mixture of both.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that you say about. I mean, the thing at the minute for everyone is authenticity. To use a buzzword in inverted commas for listeners rather than watchers.
Yeah.
Um, and and you built a whole brand based on that. But as you say, with that, comes the exposure to the internet and the people who just want to be horrible to be horrible.
Yeah.
Um, obviously, as if through a podcast, I mean, like I think I don't know if I've said on the recording yet that you're episode 21, 22, 23, one of those somewhere. And so a lot, I think there's seven out so far. Luckily, touch wood, uh, wherever the table's wood, I'm touching the table is wood. I haven't experienced any of that as yet because it's not gone, super like, I've got not bad. It's not got bad figures for what it is. Um, but at the same time, with that also comes the distinct lack of trolls. So
Yeah,
there's no nasty comments anywhere. Oh, this guy says or a lot, anything like that. Um, but it when you're exposing yourself to the world, however you may do it, YouTube, podcast, social media, there is always a risk of that, isn't there? And
yeah,
when you start and you do think, actually, what if somebody says, and I suppose one or two is not too bad, but when you get lots and a whole page on a forum,
yeah.
it's awful. I hate how horrible people can be.
And I think when it's your personal life, so I didn't mind if someone said, "Oh, look at her with her free holiday to Turks and Caicos," because I thought, "Yeah, look at me. Like I've built
Mm.
this up. I wasn't given this audience. I've had to put in the
Yeah,
work
yeah,
and view the
yeah.
shoe air
Like,
fresheners to get here." It's when it's well, I heard this happened with their divorce, or I go to the same school, like my kids go to the same school as her kids, and I heard this, or I saw, and that's when you just think, oh no, this is too raw. And when they start talking
mm.
about your kids, and my kids are older now, they stumble across my YouTube videos, and there was a real level of I need to protect them, and if there are things being said that aren't true, especially I need to, protect them from that because it's just, yeah, it's cruel.
Yeah, it's all awful in like a separation as well, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
obviously, your kids are at the center of both of you,
yeah.
and you don't want your kids stumbling across, a rumor somewhere about separation and things like that. Kids don't
Yeah,
need to know that kind of stuff, do they?
yeah, and you're just at your most vulnerable place, and then you end up questioning everything. And I got to the point where I thought I'd record a story. I thought I can't post that, or I'd have to correct it, or is there mess in the background? And it just became so inauthentic that yeah, I just had to stop. But it was a natural progression. It wasn't like this one moment where I thought I'm done. It just naturally, I'd get job offers and I think, but I've never used that product, or I don't actually like that product, or I don't agree with it. And morally, I just thought I can't, like, yes, as a single mum, that kind of money was great, but I just thought it just didn't seem right. And then I actually won a life coaching qualification. I won the course, obviously, I had to still earn the qualification. Um, and I thought, I'm just going to do it for me, just to help my mindset, because I'd gone down a real, I was desperate to feel happy. I got so depressed and I just felt worthless and lonely and rejected. And I just couldn't be grateful for what I had. So I thought if I do this coaching course, it's going to help me. And then I started sharing bits with other people. And then all of a sudden in my DMs, people were like, I got really underweight, like in a really unhealthy way because I just couldn't eat. And because I was an oversharer, my stories were always of me like crying in the car about how I missed my kids. And yeah, I just shared a lot. And then they started to see me get happier again and get healthier again. And I was sharing all this positivity. And then, so it was just a natural progression. People then started saying, can I work with you one to one? And then so I was able to start turning down more jobs. And then that just kind of took over.
Oh, nice. And
Mm.
obviously, a little caveat there for anyone who is struggling. It is best to reach out, get help, in whichever form you may find that, just in case.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
it's a big thing currently. Where I don't think we're designed to be sat at desks or whatever we do, exposing ourselves on the internet. We're supposed to be wandering around naked with clubs and eating fruit
Yeah,
and stuff like
bring
that.
that back.
Not yeah, we're not like sat there typing on computers, answering why is my order late kind of thing. Um, So yeah, I mean, obviously, in all seriousness, though, if you are struggling, please do reach out for those listeners or watchers, because we'd rather hear about your troubles than anything else happen. So
Yeah.
just that caveat in there. But I'm glad the coaching course lifted your mood, and I'm glad that's obviously then provided you with a new path, which is
Yeah.
fantastic. Okay, let's talk about that a little bit later on then. But in the interim, we'll do the quick fire questions.
Okay.
Now, in the experience, these aren't that quick.
Okay.
I don't know why. I think it was like quick fire kind of. It was supposed to be kind of like break the show up a little bit. It's like a quick little segment, but actually, what we found is if someone gives a really good answer, then we can like get into that. Um,
Yeah.
okay, so last episode, I don't think we even got through all six because we side quested so much.
I love a
But right, question one then. So we know you're only 21, Jess. For those,
Thank you. Botox is working.
what's been your favourite age so far?
So I'm actually 35, but I would say now is my favorite age because I know myself more than I've ever known myself. I loved my 20s because I loved being at uni, living with a group of girls, going out every weekend, no responsibility. But now I've never understood myself more than this age.
Nice, I like it. We find that quite a lot in the on the questions we've asked so far over the episodes. Is one first age that people think of is now because a lot of the time we're figuring out who we are
Yeah,
and what we want, etc. And secondly, their other second age is kind of like that little freedom in your 20s somewhere, 22, 3, 4. Usually it's a little bit of freedom before they met their partner kind of thing is
yeah.
in the past couple of episodes. I'm only thinking of that because I had to edit one at the weekend and he said 24 and that's when he met his wife, I think he said. No, he said 23 and I said 24 and then I was like, oh, I'm going to cut that bit out. And then I was like, don't worry, brother, I've got you. And then I didn't cut it out.
Oh no.
And then the guy, there was another guy, Chris the magician. He said 23. I think that's when he met his wife. So
Yeah.
those 20s where we got a little bit of freedom, and then
And then the best thing
then a
in the
bit.
world happens to you because you meet the love of your life.
Yes, a significant other arrives. Right. So question two. I know you're looking forward to this one. What's your favorite quote? It could be a movie quote, a meme, a motivational quote, or any other quote you can think of.
What's for you won't pass you.
Nice.
That is my favourite quote.
Where'd you get that one from?
I got that from a friend that I knew from college. Her
Mhm.
grandma loved the quote and told it to her. And then I remember saying, I'm going to get this tattooed on me because I love it. And then I went out for a night out with one of my other friends and I was like, have you got a new tattoo? And she was really sheepish about it. And she'd copied the quote and got it tattooed.
No way.
Yeah, but it's a great quote. It's
It's a
fine. We're
great
still, we're
quote,
still like
but
best friends now. It's fine.
oh, okay. She did you dirty though, didn't she?
She was like, you can still get it. I don't want to get it now.
Yeah, I'd be like, well, I didn't want to match. If I wanted to match a tattoo with you, I wouldn't have got that. I would have got something else. Deary me. Shame. Shame on you, best friend. Uh, right. Question three. Google Suite or Microsoft 365? Which do you use in your everyday life?
Okay, so we had to talk about this before, didn't we? Because I was like, I don't know what either mean. I use Gmail, but I've
Hmm.
got a Mac. So for everything else, I use like Pages, Notes, whatever's on the Mac.
Okay. So I didn't even think of that when I wrote this question because obviously I just thought the big two. But I think when I first got my iPad, I used to use numbers. That's what they call it, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's what they call their spreadsheets. Yeah, yeah. I suppose that if you're coaching and uh, journaling all the time, writing things down, I don't suppose you need like obviously you need emails. Everyone needs an email,
yeah.
but yeah, I can't imagine you've got many docs that you write up or many spreadsheets you work on.
No, everything's done in my journal, my physical journal club journal. But I use Kajabi. So
Okay,
most of like anything online is done in there, and anything I type, I literally use the notes section, just like the notes app on my laptop,
yeah,
which it probably
yeah,
isn't
nice.
like if I'm sure if I had someone come in and look at my business, they'd be like, there is a much better way you could be doing this, but I'm quite old school and I just like notes.
Yeah. Speaking of, how'd you find Kajabi?
Do you know what? I like it. They've added some more features. Um, I like that I can do all my email marketing in there. I've got a community section. So I've now got everything because where I run a membership, it's all done in like the communities app. So
Mm.
that's really good. I can upload videos, courses. I think there's a podcast bit as well. I think there are people have told me about cheaper alternatives, but I'm in now and it does everything I need it to do.
Good. I
What
like
do
it.
you think? Do you like, have you got it?
I don't use Kajabi, no. I use a program called With Moxie for my everyday and CRM.
Okay.
And then this is recorded on Riverside FM,
Yeah.
which it's kind of like it keeps all the videos in one place. Kind of, you set up a studio. So
Yeah.
I've got lots of different studios, and like if we did like a series, like Richard and Jess's Journal Club podcast,
Love that.
heard it here first. Then we could, just use the one studio. We could have multiple episodes within one studio. But where
Okay.
I schedule the episodes in advance, actually, I've got a few to schedule. They keep building up, and for next month, and I'm like, I'll send you the link in a minute. Don't worry. And then I should do those today.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you've got, I have to do a different studio for a different guest because otherwise you can't schedule it. Um,
Okay.
but
That's,
yeah, I have no need really for Kajabi because I don't have a membership,
yeah.
which is obviously, well, not yet anyway.
Ooh, you heard that here
Oh,
first.
yeah, you did. No, I think next thing is going to be a mailer light. I've got a mailer light account, so it's going to be a newsletter of some description,
Yeah.
only so that I can be like, Jess's episode of the podcast is coming out on Monday. Not this, this will be down the line when the mail list is done. But
Yeah.
like, did you know you could also buy the Journal Club journal?
Oh yeah.
It's going
There's
to be
like
like that.
there is like a mailing list bit on Kajabi, but if you don't need all the other features, there's no point.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, MailerLite, Mailchimp, they offer free options for X amount of people, which I can't
Yeah.
imagine. I'll be lucky if I get a couple of subscribers. Never mind
That
the
is not good
maximum threshold.
manifesting.
Yeah, manifest. Um,
I will be
um,
getting 1 million subscribers.
yeah, let's talk about manifesting after the thingy. Remind me. We'll
Yeah.
write down manifesting because I
Okay.
want to talk about the secret.
Yes. Love the secret. That is
Okay, so
how I got into journaling.
cool. Remember that, and we'll talk about it in a sec because I'll
Okay.
forget.
I can't
Let's
forget
finish off the
too.
let's finish off the quick fire questions,
Okay.
and then we'll talk about manifesting if we
Okay.
remember. Let me write it down.
Okay.
Might have to cut this awkward pause out just while I write this down.
Fine.
Might leave it in just for
I'll
fun.
do some lift music. Boo boo boo. Boo, boo.
As long as you do it, that's fine. Don't play anything though, because otherwise we'll get done for copyright. Okay, so question number 4 of the quick fire questions.
What was 3? Oh yeah. That's fine.
3 was Google Suite or Microsoft
Yeah.
365. So question 4: what's your favorite app?
Notes. The notes section of my phone. I use it constantly.
Is it like? Do you keep it well organized in there? No.
Not at all. But well, I'll have different notes for different things. So I'll have like, let me have a little look what notes I've got. So I'll have like a to-do list that's just like ever going.
Yeah.
I'll have, what other ones have I got? I've got a to-do list one. I've got little notes about like, I'm currently listening to like a podcast about ADHD. So little notes that I've made about that. One's like my gym program, topics for my membership. I've got like, so it's kind of all, it's organized for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. My only thought is, if the journal club you manifest, it gets a little bit bigger, and
Hmm.
you need to outsource some help. How then are you going to work that out from your notes?
Cross that bridge when it comes to it. No, I don't
Good
know. I
answer.
think like within Kajabi, everything's really organized. I have like obviously
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
my members are on there. The payment stuff all goes through Stripe and PayPal. So that's all very automated. I used to have it where I'd have a Facebook group and a WhatsApp broadcast, but now everything is just done in the community section of the app. So really, if someone new came in, they would see, they'd be able to see like the forecast and the admin, like everything's kind of in there.
Hmm.
But I guess I would use something like Asana. I like
Okay, cool.
Asana. I have
Yeah.
had a virtual assistant in the past, but the biz
Oh,
just
yeah.
wasn't big enough to for it. But she was amazing, and we used Asana to communicate.
Ah, good. Yeah, I like Asana. I like
Mm.
the fact that the little narwhal and the unicorn pops up, or
I
when
like,
you complete a task. That
yeah,
is what Moxie's missing. So if
yeah.
you're listening, Jeff,
Get a
Moxie's
normal.
missing that little unicorn. I can't. I think his name's Jeffrey Mina or something. The guy who makes, or the CEO of Moxie.
Oh, okay.
Uh, cool. Question number 5. Name and shame time. How many unread emails do you have on your phone right now?
On my phone, I'm really good with my phone, but for some reason it doesn't. I've got 1,173 on my laptop. On my phone, oh, 124. That's still quite bad.
Oh, that's not bad though. That's not bad. We've had people with thousands.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
I had one period of
Okay.
time where I went through and just deleted loads, and then like even like just ones that I'd already read, and then every so often I get a problem where I need to find like a password or
Uh,
like an old thread or something, and I'm like, oh, it's gone.
yeah. I saw a story on Instagram somewhere, or a reel that was someone at the end of every day just deletes all the unread emails, and they're of the opinion that if it's important, someone will come back to them.
That makes me anxious.
It is a bit risky, I
Yeah.
know. But yeah, I'm a bit like, oh well, I can understand where they're coming from because people do chase up, don't they? They're like, oh, did you get my email? And you're like, actually, when you think back, you're like, actually, no, I deleted that last night because I didn't read it. But then they've got the email below usually, so
Yeah, but sometimes what if it's like you've sent an email requesting information, they've sent it to you, but you've just not read it and you delete it?
well, yeah.
They're not going to resend it because they've given you the information. They're not going to chase you because you're the one that asked for help in the first place.
But if you haven't got round to that task, and then they say, did you get my email with the information in it?
Yeah, but it might just be like a one off bit of you might just say, can you give me this password? They send you the password, their job's done.
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean? But I guess it
yeah.
is something you're likely to read it if it's something you've requested.
It depends on, I suppose, we're lacking context there, aren't we?
Yeah.
In that we don't know what the person did that I saw the story of. I can't remember. It was a little while ago, I think.
Yeah.
All right, let's get this wrapped up. Okay, I don't know if you're like a bit of a petrol head. This question was more designed to humanize Jess, so we all get to know Jess a bit better. But if you could afford any car, you don't need to worry about the maintenance. You don't need to worry about the outlay costs, tires, mechanic bits, that type of stuff. What car are you having?
G Wagon.
A G wagon.
Mm.
I saw a reel the other day, and I don't know how true it is. I don't know if they're doing it properly, but apparently you can get a G wagon to turn on the spot.
Really?
Yeah, like 180 turn on the spot.
That's really cool.
That is cool. In
Yeah.
fact, I'll find it when I see it next time. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, please do.
They are cool though.
Yeah. I got to drive one the other day and I was like, yes, this is nice.
uh, I've just remembered something from our conversation before we started recording that I need to send you as well.
Okay.
I'm just going to write that down. This podcast is so funny.
Like, oh, what's it going to be? Like,
Um,
it's really cryptic.
yeah, I like it. Dark and mysterious. That's me. Cloak and dagger. Like next, I'm going to hit you with a question. You're like, oh my god, where did that come from? It wasn't on the layout. Okay, quick fire questions done then. Oh, actually, what color G wagon are you having?
Black, but with the pink lights inside. You can
Oh
change the
yeah,
lights
that sounds cool.
inside, but yeah.
Do like a bit of pink, as you can see from the lights.
Yeah?
Yeah. Right. Okay. Quick fire questions done. Perfect. Great answers there. Okay, let's talk about the secret then.
Yes. So,
So for the listeners that, or for anyone that doesn't know what the secret is, I am about to sum up the secret with one page of a screenshot I have on my phone right here. Hang on. Hang on. Bear with me,
I thought you were
listeners.
going to say, can you summarize what it is? I'm like, no, Too much pressure.
No, don't worry. I have that. I have the only page in the book that matters screenshotted somewhere around here. Ah, it's not a screenshot. It's a photo, isn't it? That's probably why I can't see it. Oh my God, where is it? Talk amongst yourselves, listeners.
Live audience,
Like,
talking about yourselves.
oh my God. It's like, here it is. Here it is. I was like, this is the most awkward section of the podcast ever. But don't worry. I found it. Okay. Here we go. Page 4 in The Secret. Do you remember who it's by, Jess?
Rhonda Byrne.
There you go. So, page 4, The Secret. Here it is. This is it. This is all you need to know from the book. The
Oh, were
secret
you
is
showing it?
the law.
Oh, you're
Oh,
reading it?
yeah.
I thought you were like, it was going to then be like green screened onto the, when you upload it.
Oh no. I'm just gonna read it. And though, yeah, I might pop it up in a picture.
I was like waiting for you to
Yeah.
show the thing, show your phone.
Oh no, I'm just gonna read it. Though
Okay.
I might pop it up on a picture on the screen in the podcast. Because what I've been doing is there's a thing on here called Smart. Is it Smart Screen? I think. And so
Yeah.
it'll change it between who's talking,
Ah,
but
okay.
to keep it interesting, because the human attention span thing, the 3 seconds, so it changes it, and so sometimes it will swap to the listener, so
Yeah.
you can see their reaction. But I forgot to do it on the last one, so it was just a split screen throughout the whole episode. I was like, whoopsie. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I might actually add a little picture of this one in just to keep it fun. But essentially, the secret is the law of attraction. And
So,
I'm reading that directly from page 4 of The Secret. That's all you need to know about it. Don't need to read the book.
law of
I've just read it
attraction.
to you.
Love that.
So, as we know, journaling is a great way to manifest. Tell us more about that, Jess.
Yeah. So there are lots of ways that you can manifest through journaling. One of the ways that I love is scripting. So made lots of funny noises then. There are different ways you can do it. Goal setting, scripting, but also through healing, forgiveness, gratitude, lots of ways. But ultimately, when you want to manifest, you want to create your goals and your desires, we are always manifesting. And this is something that I think is really important for people to know. Whatever your life is right now, you are manifesting based on your core beliefs. Your core belief system determines your thoughts. Your thoughts determine your actions, your habits, your responses, and those things will determine the feedback you get from the world. And that feedback reconfirms your beliefs. So
I
if
like
you
it.
believe, for example, I don't know, I'm never going to find love, if that's your core belief, and that will be based on something in childhood, some kind of rejection or like parent wound or whatever, your thoughts are going to be, I'm never going to find love, like all men are trash or all women are mean or whatever. And then your actions will be maybe not giving eye contact when you see someone you're attracted to, or you don't say yes to the date, or you go on the date but you self-sabotage and you people please, or those things. Chances are you're then not going to get love, and then that's going to reconfirm that belief. So you are always manifesting whatever your beliefs are. So what you want to do is shift the belief system so that you can then manifest what you want instead. So when we are journaling, you can do that through awareness. So really identifying, okay, what's in my life right now and how am I manifesting that? So if you're in a job that you hate, are your beliefs that people like us only get jobs like this, or that you're not smart enough, or those kind of things? What are your habits? Like, are you avoiding looking at the job section in the paper? Or if someone offers you a job, are you saying no? So looking at how am I manifesting this, and also by your responses, like if someone says to you, do you want to go on a night out, and you're saying no, or if someone compliments you, are you saying like, if someone says, oh, I like that top, oh, it's really old, or oh, I've worn it 5 days in a row, like are you batting away good things? So awareness is a great way. And you can just do that by doing, I call it a mind dump. So when you get into bed in the evening, just journaling about your day, like just letting those thoughts flow is a really great way to do it. Identifying patterns and identifying triggers, that's a great way to do it. So looking at, is it that I always go for this type of man, or I always end up quitting, or like I start businesses but don't let them grow, or things like that, the things that trigger you. So identifying where you're at now is really great. Healing and releasing. So being able to write maybe like a forgiveness letter to someone that hurt you in the past. You don't give it to them unless you want to, but just to get it out. Writing letters to your younger self. Those are really great ways. Writing letters to your future self. Or letters from your future self to you. I did that the other day. So it was 40-year-old me, I'm 35, and it was advice as if from her. Like, don't worry about this, just say yes to this, stop doing this, this is going to be okay, here's where we're at now, to really connect to that future. Goal setting is a really great way of journaling. So just, writing down what it is that you want. And not just what you want, but how it's going to make you feel. Because this, again, I feel like I'm kind of sidetracking, but it's not the thing that you want, it's how it's going to make you feel. I don't want the G-Wagon. I want how bougie I'm going to feel driving that G-Wagon. I want the safety being in a bigger car. Me and my kids, I want that safety, that security, that sense of pride. That's what I want. And it's like, it's not the partner you want, it's the love, it's the feelings. So journaling on that and really connecting to it. So when you're writing, like you can do a scripting technique, which is as if you're writing a book or a movie script, but about your desires. So you could do like your dream day. I wake up in my dream 5-bedroom barn conversion, in my lovely like Egyptian cotton sheets, and my dream partner is next to me, and I feel the sun on my face, and I feel excited and grateful, and really journaling like the feelings and the senses. But as you're writing it, connecting to that. And that's a great way to do it. And you're literally creating this script, and you can reread it, you can rewrite it. And then what you're doing is you're telling the part of your brain, the reticular activating system, which is the part of the brain that filters in useful information. So we have like millions of bits of information coming in to us all the time, and the brain needs to filter. Obviously, we can't process all of it. So that's why if you're in like a busy train station, you hear all these noises. If someone shouts your name or you hear your train being called, that's useful information to you, so you hear it. Or like when you got your first car, you probably noticed loads of those cars on the road. I know I had a little black Ford KA, and all of a sudden I was like, everyone is driving little black Ford KAs. It's just because it's useful to me. So when we have a belief, that part of our brain is like, okay, this is our belief system. This is what keeps us safe. Maybe like, I'm not worthy of earning above this particular income. So it's going to only bring in the opportunities, or it's going to reconfirm that belief. The minute you choose new beliefs and you set new goals, it's like you're changing the coordinates of a missile. That reticular activating system is going to be like, oh, she wants this car. We're going to start showing her those cars that are up for sale. We're going to start giving her job opportunities that can help her to have that income, and it's going to start bringing in those opportunities.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so I know that this might cross over with a few things that you've just said, but give us a very quick guide then to start journaling. So obviously, like, I'm sure that some of the bits that you just mentioned there will cross in. But if someone's listening to this right now, or not right now, when it's released in a few weeks, and they're like, oh my God, that sounds amazing, I'm going to give that a bash. Where do they start?
Okay, so the best place to start is with a mind dump. So just get plain notepad, like it. Some people prefer plain paper, lines. You can use the note section on your phone, although there's nothing like writing pen and paper for me. And just allow yourself to let those thoughts empty onto the paper. It doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to be neat. It doesn't have to be spelt correctly. You're just letting that stream of consciousness flow. And the beauty of that is not only are you grounding in the moment and you're letting your nervous system like reset, it's lowering that cortisol, it's feeling good in the moment, but you're allowing yourself to be heard and seen. And when you do that, there are so many other benefits because you can then see it from a different perspective. You can shift that perspective. You can observe, like, oh, last night I also wrote about that person that annoyed me. And you start to see these triggers and patterns, and you start to learn more about yourself, but also have the ability to reframe how you're thinking. And it just helps just to get it out. And sometimes you'll look and see, actually, that's not as bad as I thought. And sometimes you'll look and go, no wonder I feel like that if this is what has been going on in my head. And that's a really great way to start. But I know that some people, they'll open that page, that blank page, and they just don't know what to write, or they feel a real block. In which case, really simple prompts like I feel, I am, I'm grateful for. I do have a journal called the 90-day journal, and it has morning prompts and evening prompts for 90 days. And they're really simple ones like that. I am, I feel, I'm grateful for, today is going to be. So you're just kind of setting intentions, having a bit of self-awareness. There's ones like I release, something from today that I release or that I let go of. So you're doing bits of healing, but it's just really small amounts. And then you're instilling that habit. And over time, you start to get used to like checking in. How do I feel? And it's a really good benefit because then sometimes I'm driving and I'll just be like, right, how do I feel? What do I want to release? And they become thought prompts. And how you view yourself, how you speak to yourself starts to change. And then as a result, your reality starts to change.
Yeah, I like it. It's a fascinating subject, and just the thought on the old getting started. If someone's particularly logical, say, and they think they don't want to look at a page, and or if well, obviously the page helps because it gives you the prompts. But if they're just getting a piece of paper and they're like, right, where do I start with this? If they wanted to, they could do like a mind map, couldn't they? Like what do we call them in the old days? You draw a circle and you write
Did it used to be called
gratitude in the middle.
brainstorm?
I don't. Well, you're not allowed to use brainstorm anymore, are you? Because that
Yeah, which
implies
I think
epileptic
that's why
fit. I
it's
think.
is that why it's now mind
Is
map?
it mind maps? I think
Yeah.
that's what they're called. So yeah, essentially a title and then little spurs off there with all your thoughts around that, and then a big center one. You did them at school, so that could be a great way to get someone in started.
Yeah.
Especially if they're more, if they're looking at a blank piece of paper and they're like, well, what should I write now? But yeah, it's fantastic. I'll give you some of my experiences in this. So obviously, I spend a lot of time on Instagram. I spend a lot of time watching reels, probably to my detriment. But over the course of the period of doing so, you spot things and then the algorithm shows you more things. So, I've fallen into traps of, manifestation, things like that on the algorithm, falling down it. And one thing to do with this is gratitude for just, you can start with that gratitude for three things every morning. What am I thankful for?
Hmm.
Is one way. And then the more you see these things, obviously, the more it shows you. Now, one of the things that I've noticed over the years is that the sell on Instagram was that words, you're casting spells if you're using words, inverted commas for listeners rather than watchers. And so the way you speak to things, the way words work. So the way you speak to yourself, for example. So, you're typing away and then you've done something, you're like, oh, insert expletive here, and then call yourself an expletive. Pick one of your choosing. And then then someone said to me, like, when you talk to yourself like that, do you think that you are an expletive? I'm like, well, yeah, well, obviously, just made that tiny little mistake and now going to call myself a something head. And they're like, would you talk to someone who was, if you were like standing over someone's shoulder and they did that, and then would you call them an expletive? And I was like, no, that'd be really rude. And they're like, well, you shouldn't speak to yourself like that, should you? So I
Yeah,
tend to now call myself a silly Billy instead.
I love that. Silly
Because it's
Billy.
a bit nicer and a slight acknowledgement. But and it's not quite to the extreme that I'm calling myself a expletive, and so I think therefore I am. But at the same time, you don't know what effect that is actually having on you over time, and someone else. If they're calling them, they're speaking these things, saying, "Oh, essentially saying, I'm worthless, I'm rubbish at what I'm doing," and eventually your head's going to start believing that.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're not a expletive. You're a silly Billy.
Yeah, and also just being really gentle with yourself and saying, that's okay, everyone makes mistakes.
Yeah, yeah.
Because again, that's fueling that self concept. And if we don't believe we're worthy of something and we're telling ourselves, oh, you idiot, and things like that, then we're just confirming that. Whereas the way that we speak to ourselves, it starts to shift that concept. And journaling's really great for that because you can become really aware. And I always say to the members that I work with, to everyone, your journal is a shame-free place. So
Mm.
if you notice that you've been writing, I feel really ugly today, or I can't believe I made that mistake, I'm so embarrassed, and things like that, that's okay because that's how you feel. Observe that without shame. Because this is the thing, I think, ignorance is bliss. And quite often when we go on this self-awareness journey, it becomes really frustrating because you're so aware and you can literally be berating yourself or repeating a habit that doesn't serve you in real time, and you're like, I'm aware I'm doing this, why am I doing this? And it's so frustrating. And that's the time that you need so much compassion and just to be like, it's okay, I'm human, we all learn coping strategies, some of them don't serve us. Like, next time I'm just gonna try and have a different response, or I'm just going to try and override that. A good tip is if you look in the mirror and say something that you don't like, or I look ugly today, or whatever, commit to saying three nice things. Or
Mm.
if you say to yourself, like, oh, I'm such an idiot, I can't believe I just did that. No, I'm smart, I'm brave, and I'm wonderful. And it's just trying to
I
rewire it.
think we're programmed to look out for the negative, aren't we?
Mm,
And so we go through our lives, and it's when you reach a certain point in your life, mid to late 30s, and you start realizing, and I think that's why people say their 40s are better, because they've realized things. But we're all conditioned. I mean, I suppose it's like an evolutionary thing. We were all You've got to look out for the bad because the bad can potentially kill us, right?
yeah,
And the bad could potentially it can be ourselves.
yeah,
So instead of looking out for, so it's always, you always spell that word wrong, or when you're on a different keyboard, you type those two letters backwards. Just a couple of examples from my everyday there, but instead of that, we never think about the good stuff. Um, which obviously journaling and manifestation it pushes us towards that instead.
yeah,
I was thinking about this yesterday. For me, sometimes I'll just tell people, I just do people's paperwork every day. Paperwork every day. But I was talking to one of my clients yesterday, and they'd had a document, and someone had changed the document by adding a section, and then they were saying, "Oh, I couldn't fix the section because the contents wouldn't work." So, I mean, this is a Microsoft Word thing, and I don't know if you've experienced it, but when you add a section, it will then you can't change the contents without you have to update the table, and
Okay.
you usually get an option of update entire table or update content page numbers. And so if you've added a section that would come with a header, then you will need to update the entire table rather than just the page numbers. You can't manually edit it because it won't work.
Okay.
She hadn't experienced it and didn't know. And I was like, oh, she's like, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do this. I couldn't do that. I was like, yeah, you've got to update the entire table. And I was like, for me, that's kind of like an everyday thing because I've learned it over time and I've experienced it. And I just like, eh. But you think to yourself, well, actually, no, Richard, she didn't know that. You know that that's part of your expertise in whatever it is you do. You're not just doing people's paperwork. You're thinking out of. So a fine example there for focusing on the negative, but we should focus on the positive and take from that what you will, people.
Yeah. But a great focusing on the gratitude, like in the
Mm,
morning, writing a gratitude list. And going back to The Secret, I had it was from The Secret. It wasn't The Secret book, but it was like 365 days of challenges or quotes and things. And one day was like, write down 10 things you're grateful for. And I was like, my kids, my health, my parents, my home. Like, I struggled. I was then like, I don't know how I'm going to get to 10. And later on in the book, it was like, write down 25 things and then 50. And I was like, I am never going to be able to do that. But the more that you dive into gratitude, instead of just, I'm grateful for my body, I'm grateful for my toes. They help me to balance. I'm grateful for the soles of my feet because I can feel the earth. I'm grateful because I woke up. I've got a bed. I've got a change of bedding. Like, there's so much you can be grateful for, and gratitude lists are such a quick way to journal, shift your mood in the moment, but also shift your self concept and how you view the world. And then in turn, you manifest more in. Yeah. But when you said about, thinking of the negatives, I think especially when, I don't think we've actually mentioned this on here yet, have we? But neurospicy brains like ours, we can really focus on the negative. And I heard something the other day that it was something like children with ADHD, autism, things like that, they hear like a huge amount more negatives than perhaps a child with a neurotypical brain, because there's so much more correcting and being told to hurry up or being reminded of things and being shamed for things. That's just because their brain works differently. But they hear so much more negative, and it's especially for them so important to boost and to fuel them with more positives.
interesting. Um, yeah, I don't think I've come across that. We have had over the course of the show a few people mention neurodivergence. And I don't know if it's like birds of a feather stick together kind of thing.
It
Um,
absolutely is.
but it's like I can think of at least, well, obviously we had Rachel on, the ADHD coach. And then before that, we had Ricky, who said he thinks about ADHD. We had a few others, and I can't even remember who I recorded with last week. Never mind how the past episodes. But so we were saying before the show, you are currently seeking an ADHD diagnosis,
Yeah.
and you think that your children might be neurodivergent. Was that one or two of them?
So one of them, he has a diagnosis, a dual
Okay.
diagnosis. Yeah.
Um, cool. So you're going down the oh, hang on a sec. Oh no, it's on the other page. You're
Oh,
going to the right to what's it called? The
right to
process you've gone through.
choose.
Right to choose. That's it. And then it
Yeah.
said right to access. I was like, what? What's that? That's something else. Um,
Yeah.
okay, so essentially, you've gone to your GP,
Yeah.
you've given them the forms, and then you've taken it and said, I want to go to right to choose, and then they're going to put that in for you.
Yeah.
But in your area, which is just up the coast from me, they've said 2 years for your son's diagnosis, wasn't it?
So we put him on the NHS waiting list for a
Oh yeah.
diagnosis. Um, he's been on there for 2 years. We still don't have a date. We ended up going privately, which I know isn't accessible to all. Um, and that I think worked out maybe like 2 months. It worked out. So he had a diagnosis back in December of last year.
Mm. So here I think the GP mentioned about a year for ADHD diagnosis down here. But how true that is, I don't know. I mean, some parts of the country they're talking like 7 years.
And that's for adults.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, for
Yeah.
adults.
So I think for adults it might be quicker. I don't know. I think for children they're really, really backlogged. Um, and there are different with right to choose, there are different providers you can go through. And
Mm,
one of them that I've seen is saying 4 to 6 weeks, but then other ones are saying 12 months. So obviously I was like, I'm gonna go for that one.
yeah,
Whether it's updated and accurate at the moment, I don't know, but hopefully it means, yeah, I won't
I
be
think
waiting.
right to choose was 4 to 6 weeks, and then someone posted a reel about it on Instagram,
And
and so
everyone's like,
everyone's bid and moved their NHS diagnoses over to right to choose, which obviously is done via the NHS. It's just that they outsource it essentially in inverted commas.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, and so last I think I saw somewhere that it's 16 to 20 weeks now.
yeah.
Um, but okay, so what made you think then or want to to follow that diagnosis with what kind of gave you the inkling that you might have ADHD?
So as I was going through my son's diagnosis, there were a few things that I noticed that I struggled to pay attention. And I had always put it down to being a busy, overwhelmed single mum, running my own business, um, and just like technology, like always being on our phones and things like that. And it's not until I was kind of, yeah, going through his diagnosis process that I started to notice more things. Um, and the biggest, and and I didn't think I would go and get an assessment. I just thought I'm pretty sure I've got it. I'll just kind of live my life as if I have and put tools in place. And then I'm doing a course at the moment just to help with parenting my son, like learning more about ADHD for him. And there was a video, and it was through the eyes of a teenager with ADHD. And there were all the kind of typical things like being reminded of things and forgetting things and being distracted. But then his eyes kept going out of focus. And I get it all the time. And I've gone and had my eyes tested. I thought maybe there's something wrong, like going on in my brain, like a tumor or something. So I was like, I just keep losing focus. And I was like, I didn't realize that was ADHD. And then there was another thing where he kept replaying conversations. And I do that all the time. Like I wake up and I'm replaying scenes that have happened, or um, I'll get a song line stuck in my head and I'll go over it again and again, or just a simple interaction. I'll walk past someone on the school run, say good morning, and I'll keep replaying it. And I just thought, is it trauma? Is it just because I'm an overwhelmed mum? I don't know. And and I think that made me realize actually I've been struggling a lot more than I realized. And the more I've looked into it, I have rejection sensitive dysphoria. So
Hmm.
rejection like physically hurts, emotional dysregulation. Again, I can just snap, like I'll just shout, or I get really, really emotional. And it's just things just started to make sense. I thought, actually, I want to get the diagnosis. I want to really get to know myself more, and then really be able to support myself more.
Hmm. And is it just you want to know, you want the diagnosis so you know yourself? I mean, 'cause you got to 35. So is it like you're not interested in the treatment or the medications that you can get, or is that the case, or is it you think, "Oh, actually, well, if I had some medication, then perhaps I could do things better, more effectively, etc."
I don't know about medication at the moment. I want to try and go down the supplements route and just try and do things holistically to start with.
Hmm.
I think it's more just I've lived 35 years shaming myself, hating myself in parts, saying to I so many times I said to my friends like I think I've got early onset dementia, or I think I've got like I think there's something in my brain because my eyes just lose focus, or I go to the one for your ears, not opticians.
Uh,
What are they called?
audiologist.
Yeah, like I can't hear, like my hearing's perfect, but I have moments where I just zone out or some things are really loud. And I've spent so long thinking, what is wrong with me? I journal, I meditate, I eat healthily, I sleep, like I'm doing all the right things, but I burst into tears like that, or there are certain things that I really struggle with. And I think I want the diagnosis just, I guess for like, I don't know, not even peace of mind. I've got the peace of mind already just from the self awareness that I'm getting, but I want to be able to support myself more.
Mm. It sounds like it's like the answer, like kind of the validation. Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
that's
validation.
why.
That's it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I know what you mean. I uh noticed when I was, whenever I've been employed, because I'm obviously self-employed, and have more time to myself. Although I'm answerable to clients, it's not like I'm going to lose my job,
Yeah,
because it's not like I can sack myself. So that's one pressure of life that you've always had that. And whenever you've been employed, oh, you must do this, you must do that, you must, because otherwise, if you get sacked, oh, imagine how bad that would be. Um, and so always kind of had that in mind, and then always had, most of my life I had exercise. I was a keen cardio bunny in inverted commas for the listeners again. Um, but through an injury, I had to stop, and then we had
yeah,
COVID, and then I went self-employed because I got made redundant at the end of COVID, and then so I find myself in this position where I've not got a as many things to distract me, shall we say,
yeah,
and I find myself struggling with focus. I found myself struggling with procrastination
yeah.
and all sorts of other things that accompany with that. And I'm the same as you, like what's wrong with me? Not so much what's wrong with me. Shouldn't have said that probably. Why am I
No,
why
but I
am
think
I
that's a really common thought. There've been so many
yeah
times I'm like, what is wrong with like I think that's a really
yeah
common.
why can't I just get on with the work? Why can't I earn the money? Why do I
Yeah,
not want to do this? I'm like, is it the nature of the work? Is it, outgrowing this, outgrowing that? I don't know.
yeah,
And then you think to yourself, I don't know. So I started taking a supplement. Well, it was actually what I did was I saw an advert for, is it Space Goods?
yeah.
Rainbow
The coffee.
Rainbow Dust? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, the magical
yeah.
mushroom coffee.
And do you
And
rate it?
I had it. I got the trials pack, so it was like 10 sachets.
Yeah,
So the first one I had, I made just with water, and I got the chocolate flavor. And oh
yeah.
my god, it just tasted like mushroomy chocolates. And I was like, this tastes like mud. So the second one,
Oh,
I actually mixed it into a latte to make a mocha.
yeah. I loved it with milk.
Uh, that's what I should have done,
Yeah,
because I found it was great for like creativity. But and the world seemed like, quite honestly, a lighter place. It was like there was more light coming in. I was like, what's going on?
yeah.
And but what I didn't realize at the time is that there's caffeine in it as well. So I'd had like a double caffeine shot.
Oh yeah,
And so I was just like, I had all these ideas, but I didn't know where to start with them. I was like, oh my god, what am I going to do first? And
yeah.
then afterwards, I kept, but and then I'd have it in the morning around 10 o'clock. But at 2 o'clock in the morning, I was waking up like, oh, hello.
Okay.
And I was like, and then I'd be awake for like half an hour, and then I'd be like, okay, back to sleep. And that happened like every time I had one, that happened. So I was like,
Yeah,
this is weird. So I only had 9 of them. There's still one in the cupboard. But then I thought, well, that was the creativity I got from it was quite good. So I had a look at what was in it, and the main ingredient was lion's mane.
yeah,
So then I was like, so I got my lion's mane tablets, and I was already taking magnesium, because someone had suggested it for me. So then I stacked that, and then I was like, well, what else can I get? So now I take like, I don't know, 5 or 6 supplements per day.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's quite good in that, well, I'm so creative that I think I found a note on Moxie the other day on my to-do list that I did on like the 31st of May, and I wrote down International Podcast Day, 30th of September. And so from the end of May, and then I was like, okay, think about doing a podcast. And then I don't know when I started recording on the 2nd of August.
Yeah.
So those two, June and July, I obviously got creative and, concept and started making forms and how the show was going to go and checking out the technology and stuff. And so I went from like the 31st of May to the 2nd of August and to today. Sorry, 2nd of August started recording. 30th of September, I launched my podcast with 3 episodes. And I already have 20, I think you're 22, 23.
That's amazing.
So I'm a bit like, I reckon Lion's Mane might have something about it, you know?
It's just finding the right thing for you. And I love mushrooms. I'm all about, because I think in space goods there's also like cordyceps, rhodiola rosea or something. Like there's quite a few, isn't there?
Yeah.
And I think it's good because it's got lots in there, but the caffeine part was I didn't like so much. Although I have matcha now, which is like a more gentle caffeine.
They do decaf now.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, people keep telling me. Because I tell this story quite a lot wherever I
Yeah.
go. And then people are like, oh, they do decaf. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. I take magnesium and ashwagandha and 5-HTP at
Hmm.
bedtime. What do I take in the morning? Something ginkgo biloba?
I have that.
Yeah. I think it was on a Dr. Arman. He was talking about brains, and it's meant to be really good for like moving the blood flow to your brain.
Yeah.
Um, I have my probiotics. I take saffron, which is really good for emotional regulation. I can't remember what the other thing is. I take zinc, I think. Zinc, I think. But yeah, I think if I can do things naturally, I'd prefer that.
Hmm.
But I'm not against medication at all. It's definitely, and
Yeah.
for my son as well, it's something that we're open to. I just want to try and see if there's like natural ways first.
Yeah, of course. I think obviously for your son, perhaps, that may benefit him going forward if applicable.
Yeah,
Um, but for yourself and for people like me and you, we've got so far without it. And is it if we have got so far, is it really so extreme that we need to be medicated? It is my thought. I mean, someone can correct me and fact check me. I'll probably get my first troll off this one, but just my opinion.
yeah,
If you've got so far, do you really need it? I mean, it might be amazing, but I think some of that, that constant chatter in your head, um, and those ideas and those images that flash up. Well, that's how it works for me anyway. I think they're what give me that like that sparkle, that the reason I'm good at what I do.
yeah. And I think actually a lot of it is not about trying to fix, but just learning to love ourselves a bit more and actually
Yeah, yeah,
giving ourselves understanding there's nothing wrong with us. When like this is what I keep saying to myself, there's nothing wrong with me. My brain isn't broken, it just works differently. Like I feel emotions more intensely. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I just want to add in some tools that can make that a less unpleasant experience. And yeah, about releasing the shame and boosting our self-esteem. I think that's a big part of it.
yeah. I like it. Right, okay. Massive side quest there. Because I I was just thinking to myself, did we do everything in the show? I was like, we haven't. We've not finished the show.
I know I don't even know what the question was, but I was just like,
Um,
see.
we'd finished the quickfire questions. We were talking about manifestation and the secret, of
Yeah,
which I've informed everyone. Rhonda What's her face is going to come for me because I've just ruined a whole entire book. No need to spend $6.99 in the works because I've told you the answer. It's the secret is the law of attraction.
yeah.
So we've got one more question and a wrap up, and then we'll see where we're at. Sometimes we can get quite interesting conversations after we finish the show. We'll see how that goes.
Okay.
But let me ask this final question. So, if you could do anything, what would you do if and when you grow up?
If and when I grow up, travel the world with my babies. They're not babies anymore, they're 8 and 10, but just, I love new experiences. So just, yeah, going to lots of sunny countries, eating lots of
Nice.
amazing food.
I like it. And when you're traveling, you could travel blog because you've got that experience. So, and we had another guest that said that they wanted to do travel blogging as their career, and I kind of like fell down the whole rabbit hole. I was like, "Cool. So, talk to me about the technology you're going to use while you're on your travel blog." And she was like, "Well, I'm just going to write and stuff." I was like, "No, what about the videos and stuff? You know, you can have a GoPro, you can have a Sony AV7-3 or whatever it is, or
Yeah.
so." Talk to us about technology then for your blogs. Was it just like
I
you just use your iPhone, or have you got a fancy camera? Do you use microphones?
I had a Sony A500, A5000 with a flip cam because I used
Okay.
to do a lot of sit down videos as well, but it was great for like walking around, having the flip cam, really easy to use. We had a GoPro because the boy's dad was very into his technology. So he brought, like, when we went to Turks and Caicos, he brought the drone and we had the GoPro for underwater and all stuff like that. Um, so yeah, I would sit down, film with a camera, edit in iMovie. And that was it
Hmm.
really. I never really had a mic. I have bought a podcast mic because that is on my list for 2025, but I rarely use it. But yeah, that's it. But at the moment, in terms of just like when I create my content now, it's all on my iPhone.
Yeah, they are great nowadays, aren't they? I think that the the thing that gives the iPhone footage a certain je ne sais quoi is an external microphone, even if it's just a lavalier mic plugged in, you know,
Yeah.
just to get that sound. Of course, you got to be careful with those though, because if you're too close, then you get like the boom, you know.
Ah, okay.
Um,
Yeah.
so what I've got an Insta360 camera, and I really want to get. It's like a GoPro.
Oh, I'm thinking of the Instax, the little Polaroids.
Oh yeah, no, sorry. So it's essentially a GoPro, but
Okay.
it's you can change the lens on it, and the lens will do all around.
That's cool.
And then you get different models, but mine is the one RS. So I can either have a flat lens, so it's like a GoPro, or like a 360 lens, so then it will record all round, and you can make weird and wonderful footage with it. So one of my aspirations to go with my YouTube for this podcast is vlogs.
Yeah.
Um, and so I started one. I did one with it, and I need to change the light settings on it because it's too dark. But that's probably part of the because the camera's only this big, so the lens is the sensor's quite small.
Yeah.
But so I made this vlog, and then I did like all the shooting of the video, and it was all kind of selfie style because it's got quite a good selfie stick. And then I spoke over it, and this video is on my Instagram feed. If anyone is listening wants to go and check it out. And when I did the voiceover, I plugged a little lavalier mic in, held my phone watching the video, and then I spoke over it. But yeah, far too close with the microphone.
Okay.
And I since swapped phones, and you get the old voice notes. In fact, here's the old phone, and so you get the old you talk here, like oh hey yeah, so just thought I'd drop in for your daily podcast episode. And when I swapped phones, I didn't know that they changed the microphone. So my first few voice notes to everyone were very boomy because the microphone was in a different place and picked up different things.
Oh,
So
yes, I didn't realise that.
yeah, so if I like, if you play them back and you're like, oh, people would be like, oh, you need to move away from your microphone a bit because it's a little bit loud.
What, you just move
Um,
your ear away from the phone? Like,
yeah,
maybe
but
me.
it makes it can cause a shake.
Oh,
So yeah, I mean this microphone's quite good and it's quite restricted. So some people have said that they struggle to hear me. But yeah, if you've got to be careful, otherwise you get this all like boom down the and
yeah.
it's like horrible. I saw someone do it on a reel this morning. No names being mentioned, but yeah, it does give it that extra little bit. I think crisp audio on your reels.
Yeah.
Though it depends on the model of your iPhone. You know, the sound has got better as iPhones have gone on. You know.
Yeah, I go through phases where I'm like, I need to start using my proper camera again, mic, like really do a proper setup. And then sometimes I'm like, I see people's stuff go viral and you can tell they've just recorded it with the front camera of their phone. It's
Yeah.
not even in focus. Like it depends what the person's after, but I think the message is what's important. And when I started doing my more motivational and mindset YouTube videos and things on Instagram, and I would worry like, oh, but I need to put makeup on first, or it might be messy in the background. And I think it's not about me, it's about them. And this is what I
Yeah.
always come back to when I'm creating content. It's not about me, it's about them. And it's about them taking, like, if it's the message they need to hear, they're not going to think, oh my God, she's got a towel on the floor in the background. They're going to be thinking, that is what I needed to hear to change my life. So, but then also, there is a lot to be said for really good quality.
I think there's a fine line there somewhere. Of course, about it is about the message, but ultimately as well, for me, like if I saw a video recently and it's quite clearly recorded on a laptop camera.
Mm-hmm.
It's in 16 to 9 format on social media, which obviously makes it smaller. And it's like the camera is kind of, the person was kind of leaning over and the camera's up so you can see the ceiling above them
Yeah,
in like a shed. And so it's just their face basically. And I'm like, I wish you'd either used an external camera, or if they've used their phone, then they used it kind of down, and you're looking up their nose,
yeah.
and but you can
Like, am
quite
I
clearly see a
like
ceiling.
that?
Yeah, and it's like I'm like, I wish you'd have done that different because now I'm looking at you thinking I wish you'd done that different. I don't know what you said because I'm
Yeah,
too busy focusing on the ceiling of the shed. But at the same time, I understand, that it's not so much important that the message is important on what the consumer wants.
yeah. Like, don't get overwhelmed by trying to make it perfect, but put a little bit of effort in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like look at your surroundings behind you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one wants the old Tracy Emin bedroom behind them when they're recording their good morning for their stories, do they?
Yeah.
Interestingly, last week I put on my threads. I was like, oh, I thought I needed a videographer. I thought I was going to have to like employ someone to just follow me around to make these vlogs, with a video camera constantly. And then I realized that I just need someone to stand behind me and go, Richard, pick up your camera. And I tell you why I thought of this was because you said that it's easy just to pick up your phone, isn't it? And record content than get the camera out of its box and put the sticks on or the stands and
Yeah.
all that plug a microphone in if you've got one, make sure your memory card, make sure your batteries are charged. That's my problem. I got two for mine. I think they're both flat.
Yeah.
um and you're just like, oh, my phone's charged, it's there, the camera's good enough. I've got a reel on my personal account, and I watched a reel. It was about Boston the band. I don't know if you know them.
No.
This They did more. Sorry, the dog's just the dog's just moved. He's all right. Um, Boston, the band, they sang "More Than a Feeling." It was on a Barclays card advert not a few years ago.
Okay.
So we have one of their albums on the wall, like a vinyl album. And I was watching this reel, and it was Boston, and it said, "When did you realize that they're not UFOs, or they are UFOs, but they're also upside down guitars?" And I was like, what? I see that every day, and I'd never
Yeah.
realized it was a guitar. So I literally picked up my phone. What is it? Sequenced it or remixed it? I think I remixed it. Um, and it was just me like, and then showing the picture on the wall. And I was like, and then in the caption I put like "today years old" or something.
Yeah.
And I got like thousands and thousands of views on there.
Yeah.
And it was just
Sometimes it's the
literally me
things that
like
you don't
opening my mouth.
expect.
Sorry, I missed that.
Oh, sometimes it's the things that you don't expect. It's just the off the cuff filming, and it's that like that's something that's emotive, or that people are going to be like, oh, I want to find out what he's talking about, or oh my god, I resonate with that. That's
Yeah.
what that's what does it more than the stuff that we sit down and plan. And but then sometimes it is that stuff. So
Yeah, I've had it with the podcast. It's like when I've cut it, I've done the what do they call it? Magic clips they call it on Riverside. Essentially, you just click a button, it will make you videos in 9:16, where it will be like where it thinks it's an interesting subject for you.
yeah,
So, and I've gone through and I've been like, oh, that was really funny. When the first, what was it, second episode, someone had just told me their favorite quote, and then I said, "Oh yeah, it's a good one," and she said, "Yeah, thanks, mum," and I went, "You're welcome," and I was like, "Oh no, I'm not your mum," and then we both laughed, and then I was like, "I'm going to cut it out," and she was like, "No, leave it in, it's funny,"
yeah,
and I thought that is a brilliant clip to showcase my podcast, and I cut it like that, and it looked really good, and I still laugh at it now when I see it,
yeah.
and I got like 10 likes on it and like 200
Oh,
views. And then I've done I've done like remember the intro way back when, an hour and 20 minutes ago, um, where I just introduce someone and they tell us a little bit about themselves, and I've done those as clips, and they've got God knows how many views, God knows how many likes, and I'm like, but what about the funny one?
yeah. Share my funny one.
Yeah, like laugh at the
Maybe
funny one.
repost it. This is something that I keep thinking that like you can reuse old content. So repost it now and it might.
It might do. I mean,
Yeah.
what I could do is I could make a reel of all the funny moments, but
Bloopers.
yeah, Emily and Alan said the same thing, that they thought the bloopers would be funny,
Yeah.
and they posted them, and they get the same result. People like the much more serious stuff.
Oh, not my kind of people.
Well, I don't, it's weird, isn't it? It's crazy what people consume. I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm not. They need to change the whole Instagram thing.
Yeah.
I'm sick of hearing about hooks.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what the other thing is there, but every time I turn my phone on, it's hook, 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 hook.
Yeah. I like just. I go through phases where I'm like, right, I'm going to do the trending audios. I'm going to try all of that. And I like posting what I want to post. And I don't like following all the, I don't like following rules, first of all, but I just want to share my message and I want to help people. And I don't want to have to do a silly dance to get people's attention and make them watch it. I want that authenticity and I don't want to be all salesy. And, it's hard though.
Yeah, that's the same as me. I'm just like giving it the old behind the scenes and podcast clips.
Yeah.
That's my
Human
thing at the
centered.
minute. Yeah, it's like this is me. If you like me, stick around. If you don't, see you later.
Yeah. Because if you're inauthentic, you've got to then keep up with that inauthenticity because you're going to get all these followers and then be like, oh, that's not actually me. Whereas I'd much
Yeah, that
rather just be me. And if people come, I'm like, great. I don't have to, especially, ADHD, a lifetime of masking. I don't have to do that anymore.
that was my big worry on social media is that for it's 4 years that I've been like, oh, what if what if someone thinks I'm too stupid, or what if someone thinks I'm too, not stupid in a funny way, messing around way, or
Yeah.
if people might think I'm not professional in inverted commas. What if people think that and then they don't want to buy from me and stuff? But nowadays it is like the old, well, people buy from the people and they want to get to know you before they buy from you. But at the same time, doing a podcast, there's no hiding from that.
No.
You can't speak for an hour and 24 minutes without some of your realness coming out.
Yeah.
And so it's like people, if they have watched it, then they're going to be like, well, if I wasn't who I was, then it wouldn't add up on the stories.
Yeah.
And then they'd be like, they watch a podcast, be like, oh, this isn't the same guy. Who's that?
Yeah. I want to buy from funny and, you make mistakes, you're human, someone that I can resonate with. When I see someone who comes across as really perfect and they share something really vulnerable or they make a mistake, like I just get this, that like shoulder drop feeling, like, oh, I can relax around you. Like, I love that. I resonate with that. And as other people will be like, no, if you're not professional, if you're not perfect, I'm not buying from you. That's fine. They're for other people. For me, I want realness, I want rawness. And I think the more I'm learning about myself, it's because I have spent a lifetime masking and trying to be perfect and thinking there's something fundamentally wrong with me. So when I see other people's humanness, I'm like, oh, this is just normal. It's okay. That's who I want to buy from. And I think, that's hopefully the people that I attract as well.
I love that. Okay, well, I think we've been on for like an hour and 20, 25-ish, Jess, so I think it's time we start thinking about wrapping up.
Yeah.
Not sure how we're going to go with an after show today, but I've got time if you have.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's great to talk to you. I don't know if did we do this in the beginning? Did we talk about Alan and Emily? I can't remember.
No, I think that was before we started recording.
Okay, so if people are still with us at this point, me and Jess have never met before. We've only connected over Instagram, what, like a month and a half ago?
Yeah.
And I think we had a very brief, hey, do you want to come on my podcast? And that's pretty much it, apart from, watching stories, etc. Because Alan and Emily are friends over at Yellow Tuxedo. They know Jess because their kids go to the same school as your kids.
Yeah.
And you mentioned podcasts, and they were like, oh, we know a guy who started a podcast. And that's how we've ended up where we are today.
Yeah.
And yeah, hour and 25 minutes later, here we are. With still plenty more to talk about. So let's start the wrap up, and then we can talk about the after show. So tell everyone where they can find you then, Jess.
So the best place to find me would be on Instagram, which is at @the_journal club. And then from there, I've got my link tree, which is the link to my membership, which is called the Journal Club, and also the link to my journals. So I have, very handy, one right here. I have a range of journals. So these ones are the mind dump journals, just plain lines. For those on the audio, I'm just flipping through a journal. But I also have ones with prompts in as well. So they're great if you just want to get started journaling by yourself. But if you want help with your journaling, then just, send me a message on Instagram. That's the best place.
Oh, so I will pop those in the show notes as well if you send me the links
Amazing.
to the membership, etc., and to wherever you can buy those journals. But otherwise, glad Emily and Alan connected us. Great to chat. Very informative conversation. I really appreciate you talking us through the quick guide to journaling. And obviously, if anyone does want to get into journaling, do contact Jess. And so, it does sound like you've had a rad venture over the years. If people are still here, we are getting into Stephen Bartlett territory. So if you're still here, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, whichever your preferred method is. I'll be back next week with another guest, but in the interim, peace out.
Peace out.
Thanks for joining us on Rad-Ventures. Don't forget to subscribe via your favourite platform. Always happy to chat, so hit me up in the DMs, and I'll see you on the next Rad-Venture.